We don't need to necessarily talk a lot about the 49ers today. Quarterbacks didn't perform well at camp. It happens. And as we said earlier, the last thing we're going to do is bombard you with training camp passing stats. Not going to do it. Won't go there. So-and-so was 6 for 4 today, blah, 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 blah. They had 3 picks. We're not going to do that, okay? What we are going to do is talk to an expert here. Nice enough to join us. NFL writer for SI now, host of the Matt Verderame show on Patreon. Matt Verderame joining us. How are you today, Matt?
Doing well. How are you guys?
We're doing fine. Thanks so much for your time. I understand you just touched down in Green Bay. Is that right?
I literally pulled into the parking lot across from Lambeau, did a radio hit, checked into my hotel, and here I am.
All right. We appreciate it. Thanks for making time for us. We've been talking a lot about quarterbacks today, the greatest quarterbacks. It started because we talked about Brock Purdy says he wants to be more like Brady, and we were talking about Mahomes saying he doesn't necessarily feel like he doesn't necessarily feel like he's underpaid. My question for you, Matt, is reasonably speaking now, how high can we rank Mahomes all time? Jay is he appreciates Mahomes' play, not a big fan, because I think, if I'm being honest right now, I have him like third, trending upwards. Reasonably speaking, in your opinion, how high can we place Mahomes on any of these all-time lists?
I would say third.
Yeah.
Look, he's not. You cannot put him ahead of Brady. I know every time the Chiefs do something historic, which they did in February, you get these conversations about, is he the GOAT? No, he's not yet. He could be one day, but he's not yet, and he's not ahead of Montana.
Mm-hmm.
I'm old enough to remember Joe Montana. He's not there yet, but everybody else. Now, look, it depends too. Like, are we talking pre-Super Bowl era? Then you get into Johnny Unitas and everything he did.
Yeah,
but I think, like right now, if we're just talking, let's say Super Bowl era and on, other than Brady and Montana, who's the guy who you're like, yeah, I'd take him over Mahomes? I mean, is it Bradshaw who won 4? Probably not. Is it Marino or Elway? Unbelievable players. You probably take Mahomes. Favre, no. Rodgers, I don't think so.
I mean, Peyton maybe, but he only won the 2. Right. So yeah, I'm with you. And
Peyton in the play. Look, I'm a huge Peyton Manning guy. But in the playoffs, he was a mess. Like I would say Mahomes. Mahomes to me, pretty unimpeachable resume. If he retired tomorrow, he'd be a first ballot Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree. As much as that pains me as a 49er fan to admit, Matt, yeah, he would be a first time. I mean, a first ballot Hall of Famer. Speaking of Matt Verderame, Matt, let's stay there at the quarterbacks. Tua just got his money. Jordan Love just got paid. Around here in Northern California, I think we have all eyes on Brock Purdy and what he may, especially with the new CBA coming up next year. What's your best thoughts on where the quarterback pay enters next year? And beside Purdy, who might be up there on the perch? And it might be Pat Mahomes already reconstructing that you think might be looking for to be, the next QB to be paid.
Well, look, I think next year, so you always look at the draft classes. Well, next year's draft class was atrocious at quarterback, except for Purdy. Like, Purdy was the guy, right? I mean, Malik Willis hasn't panned out to this point. Kenny Pickett was a train wreck in Pittsburgh. Purdy's the guy. Purdy's the guy. You're looking at going, all right, him. And then, of course, with everything going on in Dallas, you're looking at Prescott, but that's a different situation. If I'm Brock Purdy's agent, let's say he has a year this season that is at least, statistically speaking, 80 to 90% of what he did last year, and they go to the NFC title game or better. If that happens, and I'm his agent, I'm going to John Lynch and saying, yeah, listen, I want 60.
Mm-hmm.
Because the cap's only going up. It's only going to continue to go up. I just saw Jordan Love get 55 and Trevor Lawrence get 55, and between them, they have half the playoff wins that Purdy has. He's done nothing but win since he's shown up. He was a coin flip away, literally, in win the Super Bowl. If I'm Purdy, if I'm his reps, I'm asking for 60. Now maybe I get 57, 58. But if he has another really good year, he's going to be paid higher than anybody who's currently paid at the NFL at the quarterback position in the NFL per year. Now, guaranteed money. A lot of that depends on structure, everything else. But again, I would expect him to be right at the top of the market. I think Prescott, because of free agencies are different. You got all teams bidding on you. I think he probably gets even more. But those are the two contracts to watch at the quarterback position next offseason.
Matt Verderame is with us. Matt, speaking of Brock Purdy, we get frustrated around here, and maybe we're a little biased because we see him play so much when we have the 49ers on the station, but it does seem like there are some people who are just not willing to give him the credit he deserves. Is he going to be a guy that if he wins 2 Super Bowls, people will say, yeah, but I mean, how long are we going to be dealing with those people that just don't want to give him the credit and want to give the credit to the team that plays around him?
Well, I mean, I think we live in a society where people are almost rewarded at times for having a dumb opinion and sticking to it. Like like when you really think about it, people legitimately get paid millions of dollars in our industry for having a really dumb opinion and then just never coming off of it. And Purdy is like the cottage industry for those people. No, I'll be the first one. When he came out of college, you're thinking, okay, whatever, this guy's maybe a backup if he's lucky, that's fine. And then when he first started to play as a starter, my initial impression of him was he's fine. Like he's clearly better than his draft slot.
Yeah.
I don't know that he's going to be more than that. We'll see. If you watched him last year, and I can say whether live or on a replay, I watched every game that the Niners played. If you watched that guy last year and came away from that saying, yeah, he's no better than the 19th best quarterback in football, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, is he Mahomes? Is he Allen? Is he Burrow? No, he's not. But is he a top 10 type guy? Yeah, he is. Now, are they all benefiting from the fact they have this unbelievable roster? Yeah, but the weapons on the team are also benefiting from the fact they have Brock Purdy.
Yes.
So it's a two-way street. Now, yeah, and then you get these people, those same people I was just talking about, who make the argument, hey, well, his life's going to be tougher when, they lose either Ayuk or Debo, or they, at some point down the road, Kittle's not there. And you're like, well, yeah, no kidding. I mean, of course that's going to be the case. Like when Kelsey retires, Mahomes is going to have a tougher life. Like that's football. That's the sport. But I think Purdy, listen, if you've watched him and you don't respect that the kid is a good player, I think you're just being disingenuous.
Matt, jumping across the country and talking about another quarterback, because I think we've all figured out around here Brock Purdy is a pretty decent quarterback, minus a few people, as you said.
Not everybody, but yeah.
And those folks, as Matt has talked about, need some of that money, that bag taken away from them. But I regress. Talking about Aaron Rodgers, someone that has local ties here to Northern California, went to Egypt, jumped around on the Nile before coming to training camp. What's your take on the Jets, Aaron Rodgers moving forward this year? I mean, everybody seems to think they have a playoff run in them. What's your take?
Well, I guess I'm not everybody. Look, they are very talented. And if Tyron Smith stays healthy, and if Mike Williams stays healthy, and if Aaron Rodgers both stays healthy and becomes the player that he was back in, 2021, and if Robert Saleh proves that he can be a head coach, and if Nathaniel Hackett proves that he can be a really good offensive coordinator, then yeah, the Jets are a playoff team. But I got to tell you, every time I have to say the word if, I start knocking off the idea that you're going to be a playoff. Like, if I have to give you 9 ifs to get to 10 wins, we have a problem. And with the Jets, those are a lot of ifs. Like, I don't think Tyron Smith's going to stay healthy because he hasn't played more than 13 games in 8 seasons. And I don't think Mike Williams is going to stay healthy because the guy had a broken back 2 years ago. He had a torn ACL last year, and now he's going to play at MetLife, where the Niners know full well what the turf is like at MetLife Stadium. Okay, I look at the Jets and say, why do I think Rodgers is going to go back to being great? He wasn't great the last year we saw him in Green Bay. And then, now today it's in the news that he was fired up after what he felt was a poor practice day. How can you address your teammates?
Right.
And say, hey, guys, you know what? I really didn't see the effort out there today. You were in Egypt. Like, what?
Yes.
What world are you in? Like, you don't have any gravitas. This isn't Green Bay, where for 20 years he put in the time, and guys are going to go, hey, man, he didn't put the mini camp, but like he's done so much here. You've done nothing with the Jets. You've done nothing. So I think with that situation, to me, I do not see them as a playoff team. I do not think they'll make it.
Yeah, we're talking with Matt Verderame. It's funny you say that, Matt. We were talking about that earlier, and I feel badly for Lazard and some of the other players, and they're trying to say the right thing and say, oh, we're just lucky that Aaron cares so much. It's like, well, does he really? But okay, good for you. I have a silly question for you. My understanding is you've covered the Chiefs quite a bit. And last week we talked about a Raider fan brought a Kermit the Frog puppet to practice with a Mahomes jersey and hair that was supposed to be Mahomes' hair. And then one of the Raiders said something called Matt took the puppet and wore it and did some silly things. And Mahomes says, we'll deal with that when the time comes. How do the Chiefs and Chiefs fans, if they even really care about stuff like that, how are they feeling about something like that?
I mean, I think from Chiefs fans' perspective, and you guys mentioned I do a Matt Verderame show just for Chiefs fans on Patreon because I grew up a Chiefs fan, came up covering them, and on and on. Most Chiefs fans would tell you it's the Raiders.
Yeah,
like they're just they've been irrelevant for 25 years. So I think that's not even meant as a slam. Like I just think that's how most Chiefs fans look at it. They look at it and say, okay, there's the Bengals and there are the Bills. I mean, at this point, the Niners are a bigger rival to the Chiefs than the Raiders. Like the Raiders haven't played a real meaningful game against the Chiefs since I was in grade school. I'm 35 years old. So there's that. Now, Jay
is laughing, by the way. You got Jay. You're amusing Jay.
Good. I'm glad. The Chiefs, the players, they play week 8. That's the first time they play the Raiders. It's in Vegas. I don't know what the future line is for that game, but I'm going to tell you guys right now, whatever it is, it's not high enough. Because they are going to come out in that game, and if they're up 35-10 with 2 minutes left, they're going to try to score again. That game, and for people say, no, they would. Look, go back and look at 2016. They played Denver on a Christmas night at Arrowhead. They were up something like 34-10, and they had Dontari Poe throwing a touchdown pass with like 30 seconds left just to rub it in a little bit more with Denver. So they play the Raiders week 8, and they play them on Black Friday on national television. If there is ever 2 games that I would say the Chiefs are going to win those games, I'm more confident to win those games when they play the Panthers.
I know.
I love it, Matt. I'm pretty sure the Raiders fans around here didn't want to hear that. Matt, before we let you go, for your best guess, man, you were tied to the NFL like nobody. Who do you think can challenge the 49ers in the NFC West? I mean, it looks like on paper it's their conference to win, or excuse me, their division to win. Do you see anybody putting a scare into the 49ers?
I think the only thing they can do is the Rams. Like, I think the Cardinals are better, but they're not going to win the division. And Seattle, to me, look, McDonald is the unknown as a head coach. I mean, if they just really go forward, but I think they're somewhat limited. The interior of the line's not great. Geno Smith at this point, I think, look, is good, but I don't think is good enough to win the division. The Rams, if the Rams are going to do it, it's going to be because their offense is just phenomenal. And they just won a bunch of games like 34-30. But yeah, I think the Niners win the division. I think it's going to be the exact same NFC title game. I think those 2 teams are the 2 best teams in the NFC.
Matt Verderame. Matt, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it. Have a good time in Green Bay, and we hope to talk to you again soon.
Anytime. Take care, guys.
When we come right back, tell you about the East team that's in position to pluck 2 players off the Kings wish list. And by the way, speaking of wish list,